Hey guys, welcome to my first Pokemon Showdown video. On this one, I'll show you one of the closest games that I've had in a while. Let's get right into it. He starts off with Articuno. I start off with Politoed. He switches out into Electabuzz. I use Hypnosis. I switch into Marowak because of the ground type advantage. He's still asleep. He switches into Claydol. I use Boomerang, which he's immune to. I switch into Politoed again. He uses Toxic. He switches into Articuno. I use Ice Beam, neutral damage, and it's a crit. He uses Ice Beam, which is resisted. I use Hidden Power Grass, which I forgot was resisted by Articuno. He uses Ice Beam, which is resisted. I use Surf. He uses another Ice Beam, which gets me in the red. I use Hypnosis, but it misses. The poison takes me out. I bring in Shuckle, because I got unlucky and got a Shuckle. I use Toxic. He uses Roar, which forces me to switch out into my own Articuno, so now it's a mirror battle. He switches into Hariyama. I use Ice Beam. I switch into Slowking because it's a Water Psychic, so it resists his fighting type moves. He misses his Cross Chop. Switches into Electabuzz. I use Hypnosis or Psychic, hoping that he stays asleep. I use it again, and then really hoping that he stays asleep. I use it one more time. Luckily, he does stay asleep, so I can use Hypnosis and take him out. He brings in Raticate, which he has Shadow Ball, which is super effective against me. I use Set Calm Mind, and realizing that if I use another Calm Mind, I won't be able to use an attack. I attack right now and take 2/3 of his health. I'm just gonna leave Slowking in there and get a clean switch. So Slowking goes down. I bring in Marowak. He switches into Claydol. I use Earthquake, which Claydol is immune to. He Toxics me. I do Rock Slide, sorry, which is resisted. I switch into Shuckle. I use Wrap. Oh, he Toxics me, and I use Wrap. And then he uses Earthquake, I think. Yep, Earthquake. I use Toxic. And then he Earthquakes me again. And I noticed he used Earthquake, so I used Encore. So you can only use Earthquake for 3 more turns. Which then I realized it's safe to bring an Articuno. I saved Shuckle for Sack Swap later. Earthquake he's immune to. He switches into... I forget who he switches. He switches into Hariyama, which I do Ice Beam, bringing him down to 2/3 health. He fakes me out, which I flinch. I do another Ice Beam, but he switches out into Articuno, which takes toxic damage, and then I believe he rests this turn. I do Ice Beam, he's an 8 HP. He rests, bringing himself back up to full HP. He gets unlucky. He gets With his sleep talks, he gets another rest, which does nothing. I do Ice Beam. Realizing that I won't be able to KO him, I switch into Marowak, which has Rock Slide, which is 4 times effective. But with this Sleep Talk, he does get lucky and gets Roar, which causes my Shuckle to come in, and the Toxic takes him out. So I just bring right back in my Marowak. He wakes up, he uses Ice Beam, which takes me down to 9% HP. I use Rock Slide, which is 4 times effective, and KOs him. He brings in Raticate. The Toxic takes me down to 3 HP. Raticate's faster, so I just leave Marowak in. He dies. At this point, he has 4 Pokemon left. I have 2. I bring in Articuno. He substitutes. I Ice Beam. He does. He gets a Starlock Berry, which gives him 1.5 times speed. He uses Endeavor, which brings me down to 11% HP. I do Ice Beam, which kills him to crit. He comes in with his Speed Form Deoxys, which at this point, I realize he's going to kill me with one shot because there's no way I outspeed him and there's no way I kill him in one shot. So I'm thinking, what do I do? My last Pokemon is Ekin. No, it's the evolved form of Ekans. I forget its name right now. Arbok, which Psychic is super effective to poison. I realized that the Arbok has Intimidate, which I realized if I Intimidate it, and maybe I can survive a hit with Articuno. So I decide to switch into Arbok, get the Intimidate off. He realized he gets 2 shots, so I just leave him in. He gets 2 shot. I bring in Articuno. He gets that heal from leftovers, and he survives with 2% HP. I get a rest off, which brings me back to full. He uses Psychic. I use Sleep Talk. I get really lucky. I get an Ice Beam. He does Psychic again, Psychic again. I do Sleep Talk again, and I get lucky again, and I get Ice Beam. Which takes out a Speed Form Deoxys. All that's left is Claydol, which has Toxic. He takes Toxic damage. I do Ice Beam, taking out his Claydol. All that's left is Hariyama. That's on 1/3 HP. I do Ice Beam, taking out his Hariyama. It's a good game. I survive with just Articuno after a 2% HP clutch. Thank you for watching. Hope to see you all again.